In few words, what's Columbus to you?
Columbus is a place like no other. There is no other school in the world like this place. This place has built a spirit of brotherhood over 60 years, 15,000 graduates that can't be explained, that can only be experienced. If you are a Columbus graduate, you understand what it's like to be part of that brotherhood. People are always wondering, why are you guys the way you are? It's because there's something about this place that bonds people that are in their 70s down to 17. We're all explorers, and there's no other place in the world like this one.
Unique, special, important. It's the most unique school on the planet as far as I can tell. It's very special to not only be part of it, but be able to go here and say, I graduated from here.
Uh, it's fun. A lot of friends here. Have a good time.
2 words, Columbus is a jackass factory.
Okay.
I came up with that years ago and I stick to it.
And I think it's very important in many people's lives, including the people that work here, the teachers, the alumni, students, you know, it stands as an important part of their life and always will. Those would be my own words to describe Columbus.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is a place, this place is just, what I said doesn't really fit. It's an incredibly well-crafted institution of education, but it's also a really comfortable place to be. You know, we have more than 30 faculty members who are graduates. We've got the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and then even some from the teens now. We've got every decade represented just on the faculty.
Describe the difference in discipline between the 80s and today.
Believe it or not, I just did in class to make an example. In the 80s, discipline was enacted, if you will, through the use of paddling, verbal abuse, things of that nature. And it seemed to function then, but now certainly it's about the education. We found a better way to do it. You know, we don't need to put our hands in any way or verbally abuse the students or anything like that. But back in the 80s, it was a little bit rough around here, a little bit more hands-on, if you know what I mean. And you know, things get exaggerated. We can agree on that. But the 80s were definitely more discipline was.
Well, as a student, I was here in the early 80s. And then as a teacher, I've been here for the last, you know, since the mid-90s. There's a legend about this school when it comes to the discipline, you know, that the teachers used to beat the students and there was, you know, corporal punishment and all that stuff. There really wasn't that much.
Yeah, I would say that back in the day, discipline was much more of a hands-on thing, and hands got put on people, you know, pretty often, basically on a daily basis here. Always deserved, of course, okay? Always deserved. And the thing was, if you did have hands put on you here at Columbus, and there may have been a few bruises, you went home and told your old man it was football practice, it was basketball practice, because if they found out that you were beaten here, you got beat worse at home. So yes, it was a different time, different era. I think while we obviously no longer do that, even back then, the basis for discipline at the school was always respect. The school is based upon respect. We believe in respect, and how we achieve respect may have been a little bit different back then, but the end result is always the same.
Yeah, no, I have a couple times I got in trouble. See, off the top of my head, probably the best one would be it's a Friday and McCullough's period 6. Period 5 was like French class or something like that, you know, so I'm kind of done with the day. Period 5 ends, I think it's done. I climb over the fence, and because I think school's done, and like everything was locked, so I was like, oh, that's weird. So I just climb over the fence, and I walk over to Banyan, and I'm outside of my ride's car, and like I'm about to call him, so, you know, where are you, right? And I call him, and like I know it's like 1:35 on my phone. I was like, oh man. So I just run back to class, get all the way up to C20, whatever, and McCullough's in there, and she's all mad, right? Like, go get a DT, son. So I go and get a DT, but you know, it was fine. We just got to go clean out some old trophy rooms, and like they gave me like free soda at the end. So
in my 4 years as a student, I witnessed almost none. And the number of times I saw a teacher hit a student out of anger is 0. Never saw it. It was usually in fun. It usually had something to do with the lesson that we were doing. You know, a kid is, you know, kind of being throws off a smart remark, and, you know, the teacher might cuff him on the back of the head. But it was never hard. It was never intent to hurt. With that said, there were some teachers of great legendary status who I did not have in class. And I did hear stories, and I've yelled, but that's about as far as it gets. Generally, the way to control a classroom is to, especially in the first month of a school year, to be hyper organized, to have your lesson plans well in advance, so that if you finish that day's lesson and it's the first week of school, you just go into the next day's lesson and try to make that seamless, because organization is the key to classroom control. And classroom control, as the next step, is more important than classroom discipline. You can't expect a group of 17, 18-year-old kids to discipline themselves. They're not going to do it.
Right.
So it is, especially within the first month of a school year, it is totalitarianism. You don't tell them that. You just exude it. And if you have the kids after a couple of weeks and they understand your routine and they expect the routine every day, you're not going to have issues. You can ask Mr. Linsky, you can ask Mr. Pugh, you can ask Mr. McKeon how many kids I've sent to the office in my 22 years here. I've never sent a kid to any of them. It just, have I had issues from time to time? Yes. But from me to a student, it's never reached a point where I've had to dismiss the student from my class, or feel like I need to get the kid out of my class because I'm going to hit him.
Okay. So you're able to avoid the discipline just by being more prepared.
Patience helps. You need to be patient. You have to remember that you are teaching teenagers. When you tell a 9th grader to act his age, he's acting his age already.
Right.
It's the teacher's responsibility to be in control. Last year, for the first time in my career, I had freshmen for the second semester, taking over for when Mr. Camaro was, whatever happened, I don't know. And I had his class for the second half of the year, and that was a different animal. I hadn't taught even 10th graders for years, and I had to bring back that teacher voice that I usually lose on seniors after a week. These kids, it was January and they were coming into a new teacher, and it wasn't bringing down the hammer, but it was being in control, sit down.
Stern.
Yeah, you had to be stern. You just tell them, sit down, shut up, pay attention, an accident might happen and you'll learn something.
What is your favorite Columbus, per se, moment or experience?
It has to be what we call the miracle in 1980. The football team was losing by 4 points with 20 seconds to go to South Miami with a trip to the state finals on the line. They ran a play, believe it or not, fumbled, and with no time on the clock, we ran the ball back for a touchdown, kicked the extra point, and won the game, and went to state final. The entire Columbus sideline and stands bowed their head on that last play, said a collective Hail Mary, I'm sure, and a miracle occurred, and I witnessed it. I was on the sideline. It was the best thing I've ever seen in this school.
I think of people. That's what matters to me, the people, the guys I went to school with who are still my best friends, the teachers I had, many of whom I got to teach with later on, and then the students I had who later became teachers here, the guys I coached, and just so many young men. You watch the process. They've grown up from being high school kids doing, all the stupid things that high school kids do, and they become explorers. They go out in the world with that Columbus education, those Columbus connections. They become doctors, lawyers, accountants, actors, poets, athletes. We've produced them all, and I've enjoyed every moment I've had here.
Oh man, I really had fun this year at the Berlin Columbus game. I think that was a really good one. Met up with a couple of guys before, grilled something, and just the whole game, and it was like a really cool atmosphere. And I think that one was probably, for now, the best one.
Okay. Well, thank you for doing that.
Anytime.
My first day of high school. I've been in high school all of 8 minutes. My homeroom teacher for my first day was Dr. Burris. Dr. Burris was in his prime back then. He had just finished playing football at Michigan State, and he was a tough man. I was the same height I am now, and I weighed 112 pounds, okay? My uncle graduated from high school with Dr. Burris, so he walked up to me and he says, Linsky? Your name's Linsky? You related to Paul Linsky? I said, yes, sir. That's my uncle. I said, your uncle was a pretty tough man. Let's see how tough you are. And he proceeded to beat me senseless. And somehow surviving, I passed the test. He said, yeah, you're okay. You can sit back down. And that's how it all started with me at Columbus High School. And here we are over 40 years later. And now Dr. Burris is one of my very best friends, mentor, and is the reason I became a teacher. If Carter Burris had not beaten me senseless on my first day of high school, I may not be sitting here right now. So there you go. Funny how things turn out.